Hey everyone, I'm Priya and I run the Million Dollar Fitness Podcast where we get to hear boutique fitness studio entrepreneurs share their stories, secrets, and insights. Because let's face it, starting a fitness business out of passion is one thing, but growing it into a profitable brand is a whole lot of sleepless nights. Today we're interviewing Michael J., a certified yoga business consultant. My colleague Nihal talks to Michael about getting more members for yoga studio business. Do listen till the end and don't forget to follow our podcast for more insights from fitness industry experts.
Mike, take us through your journey, where you are, and
Where I am, or where did I start? Well, thank you for being here. Thank you for having me. Yeah. Oh, I'd like to know what my future looks like. But yeah, background. I have a background in marketing, so I'm trained in design and marketing. So that's
Mhm.
where I started in England many years ago. And I live in Vancouver, Canada. And I had a marketing agency for many years. While I had that agency, I started practicing intensely with a local studio. So I started with Ashtanga Yoga,
Mhm.
and I had a mentor and ended up taking the teacher training. And then I ended up running my agency and teaching in the evenings. So that
how
was
long
kind.
ago was this?
Oh, this is probably 20 years ago now. Probably 22 years ago now. Yeah, probably before you were born. Um,
Oh,
no, I'm just joking.
do I? Not too long ago then.
And yeah, so I worked for her for a year,
Mhm.
and then she closed down, and so I opened up my own studio, which was and still is called Open Space Yoga, and it's in on the outskirts of Vancouver, BC. It's
Mhm.
now I sold it 8 years ago. It's now on its third owner, and it's coming up to its 21st year. So it's a pretty amazing community that's been built up there and carries on. But again, so I built up this incredible community. We truly
Mhm.
were part of the community. We did lots of fundraising, and we had amazing students and amazing teachers. I had an incredible team, and yeah, I sold it 8 years ago, and then naturally, it just kind of happened. Another studio wanted me to help them because they were struggling. And
Mhm.
so I started doing that. I'm like, okay, this kind of blends my two worlds here, my marketing background, my business background, and running a studio, being a yoga teacher. It's like everything is colliding here. So I got certified to be a yoga business consultant,
Mhm.
and and have been working with studios ever since. I would say that in the last through COVID, I was kind of at the forefront of holding of really helping create community online through virtual teaching.
Mhm.
I taught at conferences about building community online, but post COVID, I've really just focused and got specialized, I think, in yoga only. Is really my world. That's my language. It's what I
Mhm.
know. So I don't try to be boutique fitness.
Mhm.
So I'm yoga only, and I have two coaching programs now. Very, very simple 6 month coaching programs. One, start a yoga studio, and the other one
Mhm.
is grow a yoga studio. And so uh, in the start phase, I'm helping, which is, I really love this part of my business. It's probably my
Mhm.
favorite part.
Mhm.
And that is really helping businesses launch successfully. And I've been able to help the last 3 years, all of the studios launch covering costs on opening day. So
Mhm.
that makes me that makes me happy. I love that kind of work. And then my other audience is the existing yoga studio that either is struggling and wants to figure things out, or is doing well and wants to grow to sell.
Nice. So you mentioned that yoga is the only thing that you focus on. And obviously,
Mm.
the world of boutique fitness
Yeah, yeah.
is uh, is huge, and I see that there's a lot of multi-modality
Yep.
studios as well who do yoga plus other
Yep.
things. So
Yep.
did you not look at expanding your reach through serving other kinds of studios as well?
No, not that I haven't. So I have
Hmm.
actually just launched a Pilates studio. So to say that, so I
Yeah.
have just recently successfully launched a beautiful Pilates studio in
Hmm.
California, and
Hmm.
I've also worked with a Legree company. But no, it's just personal choice of I relate to the yoga studio owner. So I think
Hmm.
that's the important part is when I work with somebody,
Yeah.
I'm not just looking at their sales,
Yeah.
right? It's like I love KPIs, I love spreadsheets and the data that it gives us to
Yeah.
set goals and all of
Yeah.
that stuff. But before I ask my studio owners about their sales, I ask them how they're doing.
Yeah.
So, my approach is, it's not group coaching. It's not. It's like I am part of my studio's team. I've got some studios that have been
Hmm.
with me for 2.5 years, and
Hmm.
I am just part of their team, helping them make decisions along the way. So it's really, I think it's the relatability is that
Hmm.
I don't know Pilates.
Yeah.
I don't. I've taken one Pilates course.
Hmm.
So I just don't want to. There are fantastic Pilates business coaches out there, and
Hmm.
so I just feel for me, it's my world. It's not that I wouldn't turn somebody down if we weren't in alignment, but
Hmm.
my KPI. So, I've learned who I want to work with and who I don't want to work with, and I've had some horrible experiences as a coach. And my KPI, my goal is to now find yoga studio owners that fill my cup, that I look forward to getting out of bed in the morning and excited to see them every week and how they're doing and help them achieve their goals. So it's not that I don't. It's just that that's my world. That's what I know.
Got it. On that line, so who should typically start a yoga studio and why? Because
Yeah,
like you said, the mindset is more important than all the KPIs and everything. At
yeah,
least when you're starting out.
yeah,
So, what's the right mindset, and who really is the person who's starting the studio for you?
yeah. Well, they're actually different. I deal with very different people coming to me. So right now, I'm
Hmm.
opening a hot yoga studio on the outskirts of New York, and those owners are massive yoga fans, um, huge yoga practitioners. Their community doesn't have anything, and so they're building something, but they have no experience teaching or running a yoga or anything. But they want a
Got it.
space in their community. So these are business people coming to it saying, "I want this." I would say
Hmm.
that's not the most common. The most common is the the yoga teacher dreaming of having a yoga studio of their own
Yeah.
studio. So that's the most common path, I would say. It's
Yeah.
it's that teacher that a space has magically appeared on the street and it's a good price, or there isn't something in that community so that they open. So it's usually the yoga teacher
Hmm.
or the business person opening a studio. With the business person, the difference is though, with
Hmm.
a yoga teacher, they usually become the teacher team lead.
Yeah.
With somebody that doesn't have experience as a teacher, I'm usually recommending that they hire a team lead for a
Got it.
teacher team lead, right? So that there's
Got it.
somebody in charge of, you know, the that's respected as a teacher that is able to hold the level of the standard of class that is expected.
Got it. So, when a yoga teacher wants to start
Yeah,
a studio, and
yeah,
because they don't come with all the business and marketing background,
yeah,
I'm sure
yeah,
there's a
yeah.
bunch of challenges that they
That's where I come in.
usually,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah. So,
yeah, yeah.
what are the common issues or challenges that a teacher faces or sees?
Yeah, well, exactly what you just said. They're coming. I mean, most teachers.
Hmm.
don't open a studio to go into knowing that they're really going into business. Not always, right? Quite
Yeah.
often they're doing it because they want to serve, right?
Yeah.
And so they open these spaces because they want to serve the community, and that's what most yoga teachers are like. But then they're like, oh my God, like it hits them like, oh my God, I'm responsible now for rent, payroll,
Yeah.
taxes, cleaning supplies, all of those things. And so then it's very, quick, like, oh, this is a business. I can't ignore this, right? So it's either they have to, some people are just really, really gritty and have good gut instinct business senses,
Yeah.
which I think I did when I had my studio, or they don't, which is quite common. And that's where someone like me can come in and just really help them shape and put the structure in place that they need to run the studio. So that quite often the yoga studio owners can be quite frazzled when they're doing it all. But um, yeah, so
Hmm.
I think quite often they're not business savvy, because when you own a studio, if you don't hire people and you open a studio, you quickly become your own salesperson, your own janitor, your own
Hmm.
marketing team. You're like, it's all on you to cover everything every month, right? So yeah,
How do you how should they get around picking the right location and
yeah,
the initial budget? What should that be like?
yeah. Well, it's a difficult one to give you a blanket answer on, because
Hmm.
I've got some studios that have rent on for $1,000 a month, which you can build a very profitable studio with, right?
Yeah.
And then I've got some studios in California that are $10,000 a month. So I can't give you a a blanket answer on that because the
Hmm.
expenses are over that. But what I will say is the
Hmm.
studios that do it well,
Hmm.
let's talk community studio. There's difference between franchise type of business, right, and a community studio. But a community studio, you want to look for a reasonable rent, and so I'm talking 1,500 to 3,000 if possible. But again, it depends on your area.
Yeah.
Um, but a reasonable rent, and your two biggest expenses are rent and payroll if you've got teachers, right?
Yeah.
So that's what you've got to keep in mind. But if you're
And
opening, well, you can do a great pre-sale
mhm,
founders membership, right? And so that's where I've done well, is covering costs with studios. On my marketing background has helped do pre-sale founders membership campaigns where people are buying, putting a credit card down sight unseen with no classes, but they're getting in at a good rate. So that's where I've had a lot of success opening studios. Um,
got it. And what should their runway be like at least?
Well, the
How many
the more the
months?
better. Yeah, the more the better. So the studio that I worked, West Park Yoga in California, I worked with them for a year before opening, and
Hmm.
so they were really, you know, they really wanted to do it right. So what we did was
Yeah.
we worked really hard at really learning the area, the avatar, the ideal customer, right? And
Hmm.
then putting a schedule together that worked for their lives in that community. So that was a big part of the work we did prior. And then, yeah, we had a big pre sale lineup. And so they had a year, but I would say that they were probably really selling for a good solid 4 months. And we sold 220 memberships pre
Oh,
sold, right?
yeah.
And so the more, I have a lot of people wanting to do a founders membership, and they're like, but I'm opening next month. Well, that's great, but you've only got a month to sell, right? So, you definitely can do that, but the more time you have, the better. Because if you're building a studio, marketing now, as a marketing person, it's
Hmm.
it's not just about, hey, we're open, here's the
Yeah.
open house, right? The
Yeah.
marketing now is like showing behind the scenes build out, showing the heating systems going in, uh, showing the personalities of the people opening the studio in their community, right? So I think the more you can do to build your email list and build your email list and build your social following, the better chances you have at doing a successful pre-launch. However,
Yep.
having said that, you can listen to my podcast, Yoga Biz Champ,
Yep.
and I've opened this great one with Newberg Yoga Shala, I think on the first season, that was
Hmm.
about opening how we opened up a studio in 4 months.
Oh,
So
nice.
you asked originally about the space.
Hmm.
I went on a tangent there, but
Yeah.
sometimes those spaces
Hmm.
can magically appear, right? And
Yeah.
so this sounds a bit woo woo, but a
Yeah.
lot of the studios that have really been successful were the spaces that felt meant to be.
Hmm.
And I think a lot of people listening to this can understand that kind of, so
Yeah.
Newberg Yogashala is one of those. It was an up and coming area that used to be a little bit run down, and this
Hmm.
beautiful building came up with gorgeous arch windows, and within 3 days,
Hmm.
this yoga teacher, myself, who she connected with prior to the space aligning, and a an amazing lawyer, our worlds collided. This building came up, and I helped them in 4 months build an amazing community that's now in its second year. So that was not a pre-planned thing. That was like divine, whatever.
Does this happen only to yoga?
I don't know about that, but I have seen instances like that, and I have another one in Canada. That Summer Soul Yoga. And
Yeah.
again, it was an existing space. It came into their lap. They had really cheap rent, and they built a beautiful. They hired me, and we built. I did a pre-sale offer, and this amazing space now is like in year and 1.5 years. There
Hmm.
wasn't a pre-plan; it just appeared. But then I am working with people right now that are actively looking spaces. So for
Hmm.
spaces, I think visibility is always good.
Hmm.
I think, for a
Yeah.
yoga space, I think it helps to have visibility, although you can do it without visibility. I have, studios on second floors too.
Hmm.
But I think a good space, where you can put big letters YOGA in the window and
Yeah.
people drive by and can see that there's a yoga studio there, um,
Yep.
definitely helps. And
Got it.
good rent.
Yeah. Of course. So, and so when should the teacher or the business owner be expecting to make their first profit? That's a
That
very
I
important.
can't. Yeah, I can't answer that one. I mean, honestly, like I said, I mean,
Because it's important. The reason it's important is because a lot of them, like you said, go into it because of the passion that they have
right?
and they want
Yeah,
to serve the community.
yeah,
But
yeah,
you're not thinking about how much runway you should have, how much savings you should have for your personal
yeah,
stuff
yeah.
and things like that. And that's the
It's
reason I
a
asked this question. Yeah.
Yeah. I can't give you a total answer on that one, honestly. I mean, it's going to be different everywhere, and profit is going to. So profit in a $10,000 rent studio
Hmm.
is going to look different to a profit in a $1,500 a month rent studio, right? And so,
Yeah.
and one might be so. One studio may look from the outside like it's rocking and they're busy
Yeah.
classes, right? But in the back end, you don't know that they might have spent $300,000 doing a build out,
Hmm.
with fancy everything. And it's going to take a while to pay that back to make profit, right? So it depends the route they go. It depends the route they go. I think in the community studio, I'm not going to give you a timeline here because there isn't um,
Yeah.
an answer, but I like I like it when my studio owners can plan for the future,
Yeah.
right? And so a lot of studio owners are kind of winging it. It's like month by month, I'm trying to pay the rent and pay and I'm just getting by. I think I'm not going to talk profit here. I think it's planning. I think you have to look ahead and plan the next year to be able to be successful in your strategy, right?
Hmm.
Instead of what happens is people go, "Oh, I'm not doing well. Let's throw a sale on." Well, then you become a discount studio, or you're doing class pass and not making any money, right? So what I do with my studios every October, we get together in a group setting, and we plan out the whole next year. So I think when you can look at the low sale, you can look at your data, like in your booking systems, you can look at the reports, right? And you can look at the data. And when you see in the historical data that you have low, low sales times, you attack that ahead of time, knowing that that's low, but you have to be ahead of it by 6 weeks, everything, right?
Yeah.
Instead of like I'm doing it being reactionary and becoming a discount studio, you have to account for every single summer my attendance goes low. Every
Yeah.
June, most of North America, June and July and August suck for a studio. All right, well, we know that. So we need to sell a summer pass, but we have to sell that in June. For us to sell that in June, we have to be 6 weeks ahead of June.
Yeah.
And that's where you build a profitable studio, right? So it's being prepared, it's being ahead of time, it's being smart about your strategies. And I think that's where the studio owners kind of not fail, but get into a reactionary business, right? And
Yeah.
so I can't talk profits on that because it's going to be different, but planning makes a profitable business.
Per- Perfect. Perfect. So you did mention some of the months or seasons that affect
Yeah,
uh, the good months and the bad months. So if you can touch upon that a bit,
yeah,
and since it's just yoga, so we'll have much more clarity on. Is it
yeah.
also dependent on other things like location and
Yeah, I don't think it is
holiday?
just yoga. I think it is the fitness business. I think it can be applied because really it's
Hmm.
not about a type of business. It's really about the cycles of our customers' lives,
Hmm.
right? And so um, spring break, people get busy and get out of habits and go do stuff. Summer, people have got vacations and kids and summer camps and all of the other busy things. Christmas, so there are natural cycles, but I think you have to look at your location and your
Hmm.
area because what I say to I have mostly North American students studios, but I've also got Australia and England. And I'm telling you, Australia's cycles are completely different to North American. They don't, our rules just do not apply to their cycles, right? So, right now we're in summer and they're coming out of winter. And so it's very different cycles. So I think what I think you need to do is look at your area. I mean, if you've been around for a while, look at your data. Go into your bookie system, look at your reports, and look at your data. And there's two things you want to look at for planning a year. Anyway, there's lots of data you need to look at, but for planning your next year, it's sales trends and attendance trends,
Hmm.
right? So high sales, low sales, high attendance, low attendance. If you know that from your system, that's arming you for next year,
Hmm.
right? And
Correct.
so if it's attendance, we attack that with maybe a bingo or a summer challenge or
Hmm.
something to get people engaged during that time.
Got
If
it.
it's sales,
Hmm.
we I'm going to say this: we don't necessarily discount,
Yeah.
but we can add value. I do well with a 10 plus 2, 10 classes plus 2, an extra maybe 30 something dollars on your pass, but you're not discounting it, making it $50.
When should you do a sale, and what's the
So
what should be
that's
the goal of a sale?
the goal of the sale is to attack your low sales periods.
Hmm.
So from that data that we just talked about, it's the same thing on attendance, right? It's
Hmm.
like if you've got low sales at a certain time of year, then you know that sales go down at that certain time of year. So if you're 6 weeks ahead of that low period, right,
Hmm.
we can do a package bundle or a promotion or something, right, to increase the sales or get people to up level to a bigger package.
How about the quality of the leads that you get, the clients that you get through these sales?
So what do you mean? Yeah, that's So quality leads is important.
Mhm.
So what do you mean by that? So what are you seeing by quality? What are you seeing by
Do,
quality of leads that might not be?
do you think people who buy or get to you through these offers
Yeah,
are usually lower quality or lower lifetime value customers than someone who joins in without any
yeah,
offers?
yeah. I've seen that happen a lot, Nihal, with
Because
especially
it typically
when
happens for
studios get
other.
in, when studios get in and they hire an external
Mhm.
company that says we're going to get you leads. I've seen that happen, right? And you've probably seen that in the marketing world, and they may do a really great job of. So I've seen this, especially in Australia, but I've seen this where they've done a really good job of selling the intro offer pass, but the people that purchased it were, let's say, 15 kilometers away. And so the reality of them actually going and becoming a regular in the studio is not a quality lead. So I've seen that happen where somebody's come in there and done a great job of selling them passes,
Mhm.
but the retention is not good. Right. So yeah, quality lead is super important, but I like to do, kind of lead generation through location based ads. I think works really, really well
Okay. Yeah.
for a fitness studio, right? Because then you
Yeah.
can go, okay, this person's going to travel within this distance.
Yeah, makes sense. You know, location is definitely something that would matter, and ads
Yeah,
is, like you mentioned, is one of the great channels to acquire
yeah,
customers.
yeah,
Do you see, other channels that studios can use that's
yeah,
really turning out to give you a lot of leads and
yeah,
customers?
yeah. There are. I'm sorry if you, this weird noise outside right now. There's construction happening. I'm not sure if you can hear that.
Yeah.
But with my studio owners, I mean, honestly, you're a marketing person. I'm a marketing person. It is money or effort,
Okay.
right? So money, as in we're going to pay for somebody to sell us, or we're going to pay for online ads, or we're going to pay to advertise in this brochure, or effort. I'm going to print some posters up with QR codes on it, and I'm going to, or postcards, and I'm going to pound the pavement, and I'm going to go meet every single chiropractor, massage therapist, acupuncture, health food store, like minded business,
Hmm.
and get out in the community and make relationships. And so, to me, that I call it getting scrappy, and I talk about that every day with my studio owners. Right? If you don't have the money, you gotta get. You still have to sell those intro offers every month. So how are you doing that? If you're not paying for ads, how are you
Hmm.
going to get in front of eyeballs? And I'll give an example of this. It's I was in California and working with a studio, and she was, trying to sell intro offers. But then I went to this area, it's called the Rose Bowl, and it's like a 5 mile walk around the stadium, and lots of
Hmm.
people do it. And so I pull in with my car, and in front of me in the parking area on a tree is a poster that says "New Yoga Studio Intro Offer QR Code." Right. That's scrappy. Like there's fitness related people, health related people walking around there, and
Yeah.
you just got in front of my eyeballs. Right.
Yeah.
The other one I'll give you that I'm seeing success with, we're so digital now that people think that we're only digital. And
Yeah.
it's more than that. If you're a community studio, get out in the community. And uh, I think you can do things a little bit smarter, like postcards sent by mail. So in the US, they have fantastic website by the post service where you can literally click routes,
Hmm.
like routes around, like buildings around you. I want to get into this area in these apartment complexes, and you can click that, and it tells you how much it would cost to send to that area.
Yeah.
Right. So what I know is about traditional marketing like that, like we're all going online. But what I know is when those things go through the mail, they sit on the kitchen counter all week until it's recycling day.
Yeah.
And it's right in front of your eyeballs, whether you like it or not.
Yeah. That's
So
really
yeah, so
interesting.
I just think, yeah, it's money or effort. And if you want to pay for high traffic ads,
Yeah.
you don't want to put the effort in, you can do that. But grassroots studio owners, get scrappy. The other thing I'll give you on this is, why do we always wait for some, as studio owners, why do we always wait for somebody else to put an event on or put something, studio owners have a space. So I say,
Yeah.
make your own party. Like,
Yeah.
put your own events on, put your own health fair on. I did a shopping day for hospice every November, pre-Christmas shopping day. And part of the proceeds went to charity. That became a regular thing that the community expected.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. And so I just like, get creative. It doesn't have to be all about Canva and paid ads. They're important. I'm all about them. But, and also, don't on social, don't just post um, your class schedule.
Hmm.
Wednesday hatha flow,
Yeah.
Sunday yin yoga. Like, that's already online. That's already on my app on my phone. Like, I really don't
Yeah.
need to know that. Show me what you're about. Show me the vibe. Make me feel like I'm going to fit in. Show me behind the
Yeah.
scenes. Talk to me. Right. So social media's changed now.
Yeah.
Owners need to be talking to their audiences now
Yeah.
and getting
That's
comfortable with
true.
that.
That's that's true. That's true. So, when it comes to ads, what are the biggest mistakes or um, things that you see people are doing?
Yeah.
Like a lot of people do a lot of lead generation ads. You talked about intro offer on these and these
Yeah.
sales ads.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, uh, is that something that you look at and you advise people
Yeah,
on as
yeah,
well?
yeah. Oh, 100%. I mean, as a marketing person, how can I not?
Yeah.
I'll say the biggest mistake, and you're probably going to see this too, is
Yeah.
most ads or
Hmm.
boosted post, which,
Yeah.
come on, like, let's be a little bit more strategic than a boosted post.
Yeah.
Um, most ads don't have a call to action.
Hmm.
What do you want?
Yeah.
What do you want me to do?
Yeah.
Right. And so I think a lot of people think that clicking that buy now kind of button on an ad and it just taking them to a widget to purchase is enough. I think
Mhm.
I think people need a little bit more info than that, right? So I think for me, the winning ticket is having a great ad, you know, 13-second ad kind of thing, um, and the call to action goes to a landing page where they can get more information, right? Usually it's too cold of a lead to
Yeah.
buy right here. So I think
Yeah.
if you're doing an intro, let's take an intro offer. Intro offer ad should, one, call out your location,
Yeah.
like, hey, Vancouver, like right away. You've got 3 seconds to capture somebody's attention in an ad. 3 seconds. So if we're gonna, for people listening on the audio version here, I'm doing the hand signal of my finger pushing up, right? So that is when you scroll and you're just pushing up and up and up, right? That's how much time you've got to capture someone's attention. So I think you got to get location and the fact that it's yoga in the first 3 seconds, right?
Yeah.
Show the vibe, join in the offer. Call to action goes to a dedicated intro offer landing page that does nothing but talk about what they get for their intro offer. Nothing else. It's going to have a visual of your schedule Monday through Sunday. It should,
Hmm.
so people can picture how it fits in their life. Might have a picture of your team and how great it looks in your studio, and the call to action of what you get for your 2 weeks. And the only call to action, actually, the only call to action on that page is to buy,
Hmm.
and that's buy the intro offer. So I think that's for anything. I'll say that I've got somebody doing an Ayurveda course right now. It's the same thing.
Hmm.
Don't just do a generic thing on your website for your Ayurveda. Give yourself a landing page. You only have to create, if anyone's listening to this, you only have to create a landing page once, do a really good one. You can use
Yeah.
ChatGPT as well to
Yeah.
teach you
Yeah.
how to create a landing page, and then you just duplicate it. So it's like you just change the picture, you change the time, you change the booking link, right? And so investing in doing one good landing page and then duplicating that, so that then when you advertise, whether it's on a poster QR code or whether it's on a paid ad, there's a single focus for that, and that goes to the landing page. Then the
Mhm.
landing page single focus is to sell and convince those people that they're going to enjoy this and get value out of it. So
Yeah.
I'd say call to action, I think, is the biggest thing, and trying to
Mhm.
sell too soon with a booking software widget, like
Mhm.
just going straight to a booking software widget. I feel like a newbie needs a little bit more warm up than that, a little bit more
Yeah.
info.
Yeah. 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 That's great insights. Uh, so a lot of we've seen that a lot of studios struggle with figuring out what their ideal per lead costs should be.
Mm,
It ranges somewhere between 50 cent or $1 to maybe $100. So
yeah.
it there should be a limit to it, right? So it should be a measure of, let's say, the expected lifetime value, or
Yeah, for
depending on the
sure.
studio.
But honestly, I feel like the general,
Hmm.
yeah, that's our world though, right? So that's, in our world, we're all about the costs and lead generation and all that stuff. But the reality is, the homegrown studio owner is not really probably looking at that, right?
Yeah.
The way they're looking at it is if I spend $5 a day, does that result in more sales, right? So, but they're not really. I think the general person, like we do with marketing budgets and all of that stuff, but I feel
Yeah.
like the general studio owner,
Hmm.
the high level studio owner definitely is keeping track of those or has marketing people tracking that. But I think
Yeah.
the down to earth studio owner is, they're just really looking at how much am I spending,
Hmm.
and has that got me intro? How many intros offer? I've spent this $100. How many intro offers did I get out of it? That's where the way they're looking at it.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
I'm selling this Ayurveda course. How many registrants did I get it? Did I sell it or did I not? So I think I just have to be careful about, kind of that kind of languaging,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
it's the same as a yoga teacher sometimes not having the languaging. So I probably don't taught that language to my studios, a little bit more along the
Mm.
did we get hard sales out of this effort?
Got it. How do you know that? You know, how would the
Yeah.
owner know that they put in enough budget to
Yeah.
get the results or not?
Well, we track everything. So, I mean,
Hmm.
everybody I work with works at a KPI sheet. If anybody's not familiar what that is, key performance indicators. So it's where we
Yeah.
track data from our
Yeah.
booking software, right? And so
Yeah.
we take the reports from our booking software and we put it into a spreadsheet that breaks down um, classes and enrollments and all the different categories. So we look at that monthly, but over a year. But also, how many intro offers did we sell?
Yeah.
How many converted? So we look at all the data, right? We put it all into a spreadsheet and we look at all that data to see if what we're doing is working, right? So I think it's eventually it becomes looking at it year over year, right?
Hmm. Yeah.
So it's really tracking the numbers, tracking. When I once a month I meet with my studio owners at the beginning of the month, and um, we look at all those category revenue, conversions, and we look at the areas where it might not be working. So if I'm seeing one of my studios selling 8 intro offers a month when they should be selling 60, you
Hmm.
know that's where we look at these weak areas, or look at the strong areas that we can duplicate, right? But that's, I think, putting it all together, having it all in a place where we can look at historical data it's not the sexy part,
Hmm.
but it's definitely, you know quite often we can sell a lot of intro passes, right? But then what happens is the studio owner or staff ignores these people.
Mm-hmm.
And so that is the sexy time when we should be really nurturing, right? Whether it's with our automations, with our personal reach outs, right? But that's where I see people, the data needing a lot of focus, right? It's
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
I call it leakage. We spend all
Yeah.
this money, effort,
Yeah.
marketing money that you were talking about.
Mm.
We can sell these beautiful passes,
Mm.
but then we can ignore the fact that they've bought this pass and haven't come in the first week,
Yeah.
right? That's a
Yeah.
problem to building a business, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, so the data, as cold and un-yoga-ish as it feels,
Mm.
it tells us the truth, right? And so it
Yeah.
allows us to make goals.
Mm. Yeah. So you mentioned automations, and how
Yeah,
automations can plug these
yeah,
leakages that can happen,
yeah.
right? Uh, what are the typical automations that a studio should be setting up?
Yeah, well, I think automations are essential now. I mean, it is not. It's not a. I don't think it's an option anymore. Every
Yeah.
studio should have automations now because a community studio is going up against franchises, which has
Yeah.
sales teams and automations. Never has there been a time ever where a fitness studio has so much power in their knowledge, because I think what the beautiful thing about fitness automations are, they're not just an SMS or an email. They can now be done on based on data. So we're coming back to that data again. But it's like we sold this beautiful intro offer and somebody didn't come in the first week. You should have an automation that is firing off 2 days after they haven't been coming, saying, "Hey, we know you had great intentions. Let's get your ass on the mat."
Yeah.
Right, basically. And so, and so that's where we're missing. I have purchased here in Vancouver. I went to a studio. I bought an intro offer. I went there. It was an all over fitness studio. It had some great yoga classes. Never got welcomed on the front desk once in my 2 weeks, but did have a great experience in my classes. And then nobody tried to tell me about the next offerings that they had at the space. Nobody phoned me, emailed me, SMS'd me, and I leaked away.
Yeah.
Right. And so I can't tell you how common that is. And I bet you people listening to this
Mm.
are resonating. If you're not using your automations, get your automations, get them set up. If you don't know how to do them, get someone to help you. The intro offer period to me is like I have a whole written intro offer sequence,
Mm-hmm.
for a 2 or 3 week intro offer that I give to my clients, and
Mm-hmm.
it's not all about selling. Let me tell you that.
Yeah.
It's about adding value during that experience,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
it's I think that's the secret now is like,
Mm-hmm. I think
mm,
it
mm,
also lets you be a little more consistent in terms of the experience that you provide, because you can, and also helps you optimize it based on the performance, right? So you don't have
performance.
to you don't have to depend on the front desk welcoming uh, new members or giving them a smile or nod. You can't really predict that. You
Yeah, you
can't.
do. You do have to depend on that, and you have to expect it. Sorry, but you have to. The owners have to
But
train their staff.
how
But yeah,
how do you automate it?
you put it in an onboarding document when you hire them, and you tell them this is the expectation. And
Yeah.
if they're not up leveling, here's the
Mm,
thing:
mm,
it's not about that teacher. It's not about that front desk person.
mm.
It's not about the owner. It's about the client experience. So that's all a studio owner has control of, right? And so if you're not in control of that person smiling, and that's expected, my onboarding document says Looks people in the eye, welcome them by name. If you don't know their name, look at the check-in in the bookie system and learn their name. That's my expectation,
Yeah.
right? So I mean, if yeah, that's everything.
Yeah. That's
So
amazing.
there's automations, but there's the human part of it that's so important, right? But
Yeah.
what I will say is your automation. Let's say the first SMS welcome message, right, or the first, let's say after the first class is a good one. So they've taken the first class, and an email goes out and say, "Hey, this is Nihal, the owner of such and such studio. Just following up to see how your first class experience was. Have you got any feedback?" Right? So that may be an automated SMS,
Yeah.
right? And if they respond, then the humanness of the people behind the scenes keep the conversation going. So I think the combination of the automation starting it, or even keeping track of things like they're not coming, or they are coming. Let's high five them. They've come 8 times in 1 week. Let's let the automation give them a high five. Or, there's so many things that you can do on that, right?
Yeah.
But I think it has to be the combination, just like we talked about with the marketing. Getting scrappy or spending money. It's the same
Yeah.
thing with the touch points at the studio.
Got it. Absolutely. Okay, all right. Thanks, Mike. I mean, I definitely would like to push this and continue this conversation, but
Sure.
maybe
Well,
another
happy to come
time.
back another time. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. This has been great having you. I mean, I've had a great bunch of learnings from today that I can take and maybe implement some of those into the systems and
Oh, great.
products that we are building too. But thank you so much, Mike.
Yeah.
Once
Thank
again,
you. Yeah.
would love to have you again on board.
Thank you.
Um,
My website's yogabizchamp.com,
yeah,
and my podcast, it's on YouTube now as well, is Yoga Biz Champ. So,
sure.
and Instagram, Yoga Biz Champ as well.
Yep, it's. I've checked out Mike's whole playlist. It's just great. I mean, he has some of the best guests out there, and he himself is full of knowledge. I'm sure.
Thank you.
Uh,
It's my pride project because it is probably my best free resource out there. Like you're doing this, it's like it is the best free
yeah,
resource, and it's literally me picking the brains like you are right now, but
yeah,
like literally picking the brains of studio owners that are rocking it, or industry experts. And I'm genuinely interested because I want to learn. So I think
yeah.
that's the success of it. Is just it's kind of real and raw, and some of it there's some fun in there too.